Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Well, it looks like there's some people inside of Ubisoft that are sick and tired of all the nonsense and all the BS and the absolute abysmal working conditions that are inside of this company because of, well, they decided to bet on the DEI horse, and that hasn't worked out very well for them in any way, shape, or form, ladies and gentlemen. And it's probably very similar to what we see in a lot of inside of these companies in there where people are afraid to talk, people are afraid to speak out because you're afraid you're going to end up in HR and you're going to end up losing your job. And any of the actual legitimate creatives out there that have been the driving forces by this extremely successful franchises out there have generally been run off because of all of this kind of nonsense out there. Well, it looks like we've got some more of those speaking out, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got this article over here from thatparkplace.com that is covering a video over here from what do we got over here? Where's his name? Firewalk Studios, Concord, yada, 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 yada. YouTuber Legendary Drops, right over there. Legendary Drops. Apparently, a couple of the Ubisoft developers, some people that actually work inside of the company, reached out to him and decided to give them their assessment of what it's like to work inside of Ubisoft and the absolute brain drain and the toxic gamer talking about how literally all of their management does nothing more than dismiss any kind of legitimate criticism in any way, shape, or form. And boys and girls, that is something that needs to be documented. That is something that needs to be talked about far and wide. And that's exactly what we're going to do right here. So we're going to get into this article, give you all the juicy details of exactly what they're saying, and give you more evidence and more reasons to just confirm what a disastrous dumpster fire Ubisoft currently finds itself in. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if we have not already, because boys and girls, we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, check out those links in the descriptions down below if you'd like to help support the channel, and leave us a comment down below as well, letting us know what you think about all this. Does it surprise you as well? Do you work at a corporation where you've seen this exact same kind of thing happen, and it caused nothing more than a destructive force to devastate and damage your company overall? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. Plus, it helps with the algorithm. From thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet John F. Trent. Ubisoft developers reportedly revealed company brushes off legitimate criticism as toxic gamer talk and DEI policies have led to brain drain. Oh, and it's not just that as well. The commenters also go on there to talk about literally the layers and layers of bunch of fake jobs out there without anybody having any legitimate direction. Shout out to Ripa calling that stuff out. So alleged Ubisoft developers claim that the company either ignores legitimate criticism of its business practices and games or brushes it off as toxic gamer talk. They also claim that the company's DEI policies have led to a loss of talent and both technical expertise as well as creativity. And this isn't any different than what we've seen inside of Disney. We've heard about that inside of Pixar. We've heard about that in a lot of these other companies, these leakers and these people that talk about how literally all of this kind of nonsense stuff has driven off any of the actual creatively talented people out there. And color us shocked there, because they don't want to deal with the headaches. They just want to make good stories and not have to do everything by a freaking checkbox that we've seen happen so many times nowadays. YouTuber Legendary Drops reports he spoke with a number of Ubisoft developers and specifically asked one, how Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether that it's repetitive design, agenda-driven content, or predictable games. The developer responded, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. As Asmongold correctly pointed out in one of his videos, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents growth. And that's the thing, boys and girls. They are watching. They are paying attention. There are people inside of these companies that watch these videos and talk about this stuff and see it and agree with us on a lot of this kind of stuff out there. They understand that insider, how bad it is on the inside, and they need to do more of this reaching out and speaking out so we can put more of this stuff on blast. And these companies have been called on the red carpet for exactly what they've done. After being asked about Japanese gamers sharing their own criticisms of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the developer stated, the criticism hasn't been talked about, and Ubisoft only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on that topic publicly. Keep your mouths shut, because they're afraid they're going to get screwed over by the Japanese government. They don't want anybody else saying any stupid statements. Trust me, that's exactly what their lawyers have told them to do, is keep your mouths shut about things. And they talk about Firewalk Studios and stuff like that, which we've gone over that before, about how a lot of these people on the inside of the gaming industry just dismiss and blow all of this kind of stuff off as far as any legitimate criticism. And well, we saw how that worked out for Concord, didn't it? Maybe, just maybe, you should listen to a little constructive criticism, because, yeah, you don't want another biggest video game flop in history like Concord was out there, do you? Not only did Ubisoft developers share that the company ignores the criticisms it receives to its own detriment. Yup. By the way, how's that stock price going, Ubisoft? But Legendary Drops also asked about Ubisoft's commitment to diversity and inclusion in the workplace. The developer shared, so far, those initiatives had no impact on the team I'm part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is that now people end up in meetings with HR for trivial stuff, not adding a smiley in a message and adding an exclamation point of it, the message. I mean, really? We're not using emojis in our emails, so you got in trouble? Or, oh, gasp, the horror. He used an exclamation point. He made me yell at me in an email. He made me feel threatened. He made me feel unsafe. He's so mean because he put an exclamation point at the end of his sentence. Oh, the horror. These are the kind of pussies you have working inside of these industries right now. And boy, I wonder why things are collapsing. As always, weak men make hard times. How are those hard times going for you, Ubisoft? Some are literally reporting it for harassment. That's just pathetic. One of the things that wasn't in your video is that Ubisoft had some controversies during the Me Too period, letting go a manager in high positions and some left on their own before they would be discovered. Oh, the horror. Did they hug somebody too long, just like John Lasseter did over at Pixar? Oh, the horror. Talk about one of the most abused movements in history, the Me Too movement. By the way, how will that money work out for them, too? When asked how this changed the editorial direction of the company, its games, the developer stated, the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from boys club to safe content. Oh, that's right. Make sure it's nothing that might offend the current spirit of the age or the current agenda that all of you NPCs have been downloaded and filled with. Make sure you don't do that. Reaching for plain character K in Star Wars is the perfect example of this. This idea to have beautiful characters such as in Baldur's Gate or Uncharted is met with distrust. What? In a visual medium, having something beautiful to look at, i.e., I don't know how the actual voice actress for Kay Vess's character looks like, is considered met with distrust. Yeah, because God forbid you have a character that is any better looking than all these fat, ugly cows that you have hired to cause this kind of brain drain and cause all of these problems inside of your companies. I know, God forbid that happen. He added, safe content also leads to limited opportunities on the gameplay side. Even for Star Wars, we had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama. That's right, boys and girls. You gotta play it safe with Disney because it's a family-friendly corporation unless we want to talk about cutting off your children's genitalia. Yeah, that's right. Weird. The developer was then asked, what has been the message of management to the staffs about Ubisoft's declining sales? What do they believe the reason is behind it? The fun fact is they don't talk much about it. Color us shocked there. They're just putting their heads in the sand and trying to go, no, not listening. The world isn't burning down around us. The whole world isn't rejecting us. No, we're on the right side of history. We're not the baddies. Rah, 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 rah. Color me shocked there. Color me shocked there. They mainly focus on the fact that they reached their financial objectives. Not this time around, did ya? Because you've now had to reduce your hoping to make a profit off of Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows to you'll be lucky if we break even at this point. They put that in their own filing documents. Oh, yes, it's true. Which are mainly achieved through casual player sales, not the vocal gamer community that they're really sick of what you described in your video. Also, something to know is that through the years, the number of management floors have increased to a ridiculous amount. Oh, color us shocked there. You've got to have all of your wonderful consultants making sure and all of your middle management that don't actually deserve a job and don't actually do anything real. You know, those fake jobs that Eric July talks about. Yes. Oh, color us shocked there. So communication is often blurry unless it comes directly from HQ. And even then, it's almost entirely corporate bullshit that isn't useful in the end. Oh, yes, it's something that had to be cleared through legal to make sure it doesn't offend anybody over at HR. A bunch more of these little whiny bitches. Oh, color us shocked there. Another Ubisoft developer appeared to corroborate this information and in foreign legendary drops. Ubisoft as an employer shows little regard for its developers. What happens in practice is they essentially push out senior engineers, promoting junior developers to senior roles after just a few years of experience, oftentimes with experience in just one engine. Meanwhile, experienced developers with far broader skill sets are being overlooked. Color a shock there, because what do you want to bet? They're playing politics, and all these new young kids that are fresh out of college with their wonderful NPC talking points, they agree with the agenda. So you better hire us. You wouldn't want the screaming mob on Twitter to come after you. Now, would you? Yeah. This constant cycle of turnover with inexperienced leaders to a noticeable drop in quality, with more bugs appearing in their games. The passionate, dedicated developers leave, while those who are just going through the motions stay behind. There was always something funny about my grandfather used to talk about the fact that the only people they put into management are people who can't actually do their jobs. Weird how that ends up working out sometimes. This just doesn't affect the technical quality of the games, but also impacts the design and creativity. And obviously, we've seen this with how broken and buggy Star Wars Outlaws was when it came out. We've seen this in the gameplay footage that they've released already for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which they have now pushed back to Black History Month out there. So it's literally one of them situations where they're hoping they know things are broken and buggy on the inside, but they're literally keeping their heads in the sand, just like they did with Star Wars Outlaws. When asked if they would delay it because of all the broken and buggy mess that it was, they said, nope, it's coming out. It's got a hard date. We're going full steam ahead. How'd that work out for you? Yeah, declining sales. Anyone? For instance, you'll find designers working on FPC mechanics who have never played a first-person shooter, or engineers who don't understand how the mechanics they're building are supposed to feel. There is a lack of passion and skill across the board, and the results are obvious. Yes, I think they are. It's pretty apparent from the broken and buggy mess that even the shills and the simps for the spirit of the age out there could not cover up when it came to Star Wars Outlaws. No matter how hard IGN shilled to say that don't believe your fooling eyes, boys and girls, don't believe your lying eyes out there. This game is fabulous. This game is wonderful, and everything's all hunky-dory, and we love it, and it's just the bestest Star Wars ever. Well, what did that end up in, right? Declining sales. They've already had to readjust their plans for the entire year. They've had to reinform all of their shareholders out there that guess what? We're not actually going to make a profit this year. We're probably not going to make a profit for a very long time. We're hoping to break even, because they know it's been an abysmal failure. And clearly from what this insider has said, it's of their own making. They obviously now have a bunch of layers of nonsense BS jobs that don't exist. You have people walking around eggshells, worried they're going to get called into a meeting with HR because they didn't put an emoji in an email. This is what happens when you go woke, go broke. It's not just about the identity politics. It's not just about all of the rest of that. You have a literal class of lazy people who have no creative talent whatsoever that make up BS nonsense jobs and then using mob tactics force their way into your companies until you comply. And now you find yourself in this situation. Ubisoft, your stock is in the tank. You're looking at a hostile takeover in the very near future, and you've got two back-to-back flops on your hands with Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Well, Ubisoft, even though you'll never admit it because you want to just keep your head in the sand, you're finding out in real time what go woke, go broke means, and it's not just about diversity, inclusion, and equity. It's about your company going completely and totally broke because you capitulated to the bunch of talentless hacks who used mob-style tactics to destroy your company. And guess what? You did it to yourself, and after all, you'll get exactly what you deserve.